Alright, hi everybody. So I'm just out here making this video today because I feel like the financial markets are in an interesting spot right now, and I want to shine a little bit of insight on that for, I'm going to overview the basics, but some more complex strategies that you can use to hedge your portfolio to protect your money in the event of a severe downturn in the stock market. Not in the economy. We all know the economy is already pretty screwed up with inflation and the global economy, even by the IMF, slowing down at a pace that is absolutely crazy, especially considering the amount of inflation and the low interest rates that we still have. So recently we've seen central banks around the world talking about inflation, talking about interest rates, and saying that they are going to stay committed to their policy, especially the Federal Reserve, committed to lowering inflation by getting interest rates up. Now, without going into that, it's all a lie, it's all a sham. They would have to raise interest rates to absolutely astronomical levels, higher than even Volcker raised them in the 80s, to actually stabilize inflation. They would need to reduce the money supply by an absolutely staggering amount. Anyways, we want to talk about protecting your money, and I have talked for a long time about things like commodities, things like gold and silver, that you can use to hedge your portfolios and to have a diversified set of assets, and more to bet against the debt hyper bubble that gets bigger by the day. But today I want to overview some option strategies, some ways to hedge your portfolio that most people don't use. And why don't most people use them? Because most financial advisors aren't even going to give this to you as an option. Most financial advisors are going to try to convince you that the classical diversification strategy of bonds and stocks, maybe a little bit of commodities, is the way to go. And really, most people, are totally in stocks. For example, my grandpa, God rest his soul, died about 2 years ago now, and I got to look at the way he had built up his investments over time, and it was quite impressive. And the guy was awesome. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about the end game here, which I think a lot of us, if you're watching this video, you probably understand something about that. We are very close to the end game of central banks right now, and the end game of this current phase of the global monetary system. See, the monetary system goes through phases. Started long time ago, but my studies really started with the classical gold standard, which ran until about the end of the First World War. And then we had a little bit of weird stuff going on, and the classical gold standard technically went until the Bretton Woods system, which was post World War II. And then of course we ran into the 1971 when I think it was Nixon, right, took us off the gold standard. Okay, and so that is what's been running for the last 50 years. But so we have 30 years under Bretton Woods, 50 years under that. I think the gold standard, the classical gold standard, was in place since about the inception. But if you think about it logically, we're about at that. We're in a little bit of that time. But I think even more logically, you look at what's happened since COVID. You look at the amount of inflation that's been created. You look at where inflation has been, multi-decade highs. You look at the way that they're trying to control it and having zero success. We just got inflation data today. It was absolutely terrible. Some people will try to convince you that it's not. They're lying. Okay. That's just plain and simple. So again, I've went over the basic strategies, I've talked about the financial advisors. They're not going to tell you the truth. They don't want you. They either don't know, i.e. they're too stupid, or they don't care, or they're actually trying to actively harm you. This shouldn't be a surprise, because you look at what banks did in 2008, betting against their own clients to stay afloat. None of these financial institutions care about you. Now, there are a lot of great financial advisors out there which do understand the market and do understand how to diversify a portfolio, but they don't work for free, But what I'm trying to give you here is free information and just knowledge, because everybody should, be financially literate, I think. And yeah, they should teach it more in schools. I'm totally self-taught, really, at the end of the day. Yeah, I studied economics, but I've been studying this stuff for a long time. And so here's the first thing. You want to take control of your money. Get it in your own hands. Okay? it's hard in today's world. And honestly, I've been thinking of starting something where I could just be paid on a fee level, to diversify portfolios for people and have it be under their own control. But I haven't done that yet. Anyways, if you have $100,000, let's say, and it grows at 8% a year, which is I think the annualized average of the S&P 500. Today's market is so volatile, so risky, and so unpredictable in a lot of ways, at least on a medium to long-term basis, that I think it's really important to hedge that, right? So you could take the classical strategies of commodities, which most people don't do still, but it's a great option, because that's a hedge against inflation, and say good game. That's it. That's all I'm going to do. Or you could do what I'm doing, and that is taking a percentage of the portfolio and buying certain stock options which will allow you to generate long-term rewards, or better long-term rewards, because the market's in a volatile state. And so, for example, everybody says you can generate 8% on the S&P 500 on average over time. But if you could take a couple percentage of your portfolio each year and instead, during times of distress, bet against the market, you can vastly increase your returns, because you will be able to buy way more stock when the market's down than when you would previously be able to. So let's say you took 5% of your portfolio and bought a 1-year contract, option contract, for the S&P 500. And let's say during the next year, the S&P 500 went down 10%, which, I mean, it's already down over 20% this year, right? And if this whole thing melts down, it's going to go down quite a bit, a little more than that, probably up to 80%, maybe more. You could reinvest that money at the end of the year that you gained from that stock option, and you could, if you wanted to, take out another hedge. So you made money on that hedge, you own more of the stock that you liked, and you're keeping the hedge. So that's the optimal scenario. That's what you want to do when you take out a hedge. I mean, really, at the end of the day, you don't want to make any money on your hedge. But for me, I'm bearish on the market right now, and I've been bullish for years now. So that strategy would protect you against huge downside. And I don't have time to go into the specifics of how options work, what strike prices we're going to use, what expiration is the best. You could go a month by month basis if you wanted to. But that is a way to actually generate income on your money instead of losing it. And so, worst comes to worst, nothing happens in the market, you lose 5%. The market goes up a bunch, you lose that 5% hedge. Is that worth the peace of mind? Absolutely. Is that worth knowing that you're not going to get wiped out by a crazy financial event? Now, if you don't believe a big financial event is possible, in this current environment, I can convince you otherwise. I'm quite certain of that. If you don't think that this whole thing can come crumbling down, I'm pretty sure I could convince you otherwise. And everything in the media is really designed to keep you away from this kind of knowledge. So anyways, that's about all I have for today. So take control of your money, get a hedge down, take 5% of your portfolio. If you return 8%, you're risking about half your returns, and buy an option that is either at the money, a put option. Buy a long put option that's out of the money by about probably 10%. You could go on the money, or you go out of the money 20%. If you go on the money, that's betting on a more modest decline of the S&P 500, and so it'll protect against a modest decline. However, it won't return, it won't protect as much as you would gain if the stock market went down considerably more than 5%. So if you take 10% out of the money, you know, you are protecting against a different type of shock. So my personal strategy would be to buy out of the money, 1 year dated, probably 20% out of the money, 5% of the portfolio. But if you want to be conservative, it's probably more like 2% of the portfolio for 20% out of the money, and that should protect you, you know, decently. But just remember that the less you hedge, the more money you do stand to lose. And really, I would not want any money in stocks right now. I would be betting a little bit against the market. I would be putting all my money into commodities that otherwise isn't betting against the market. And that is what I'm doing right now, because commodities, they're kind of weird, because when the stock market is normal, a commodity like oil is actually betting on the stock market. Generally, it goes up with the stock market. And gold and silver are just so manipulated and everything. I don't even worry about those. I just buy them and hold them, because I know that they're valuable and will, see their returns when this whole thing comes crumbling down. Okay, this has been way too long. I could go forever on this stuff, but it's enough for now. Wish you a good day, and we will talk maybe soon, maybe not. We'll see.